Hey guys, in today's video I'll be showing you how I crocheted my boba cup, but before we get started I do like to show you guys my practice pieces. And this time I only have one because I actually did like how this one turned out, but I felt like it was just a little bit too boxy looking. And I've only been to one place where they have a cup like this. It's called Class 302 in Cerritos. Haven't been there in forever, but since that's the only place where I've seen a cup like this, I decided to go with this piece when I was writing my fixing the pattern up. I liked it that it was a little bit longer and it's the typical, you know, cup look. And yeah, so that's how this one turned out, and this is the one I will be showing you in the video. Well, not this exact one, I'll be using different colors, but I also tried, well, I wanted to do a different lid. So this is my rough draft, I haven't fixed it up yet, but I wanted to do a lid with a cat topper, so maybe that'll be coming in another video. But this one already took a week to write up because I've only had time after work, so this is the one I'll be showing you in the video. And before I keep rambling, let's just go ahead and let me tell you what you need to make one of these. Actually, before we get started, I just finished editing this video, but I need to mention that in this video I said I was doing a couple invisible decreases, but I actually wasn't. They're just normal decreases into the back or the front loop only. I will be using two crochet hooks. This first one here is a 3.5mm, and this one is basically for the entire cup. And then I also will be using a 5mm crochet hook, and that's just to create a chain for the rim of the top of the cup, because you need something a little bit bigger so the chain will come out kind of thicker to fit this outside border. You will also need some scissors, a threading needle, and some black thread. If you don't have black thread, you can use black yarn, a hot glue gun. For the boba, you can use any color felt you want, but I will be using black. And then if you have pink felt, you can use that as well. But since I don't have any on hand, I will be using this foam sheet in this color pink right here for the blush. If you wanted to do pink yarn and just thread it through, you can do that. But I was a little bit too lazy, so that's why I did go ahead and just glue on this foam sheet right here. But that's what I used, and you can choose to use yarn or any of these items if you like. I will also be using 9mm safety eyes, but if you want something bigger or smaller, you can go ahead and change it up. It doesn't have to be exactly like mine, but here are my 9mm safety eyes. To keep track of your stitches, you will need a stitch marker, but to be honest with you, I hardly use these anymore because I'm just too lazy to grab them. So usually what I'll do is take, you know, some thread or my extra pieces of yarn and use that to keep in place, because I just find it easier since this is already going to be on hand. So if you don't have one of these, you can just use a bobby pin, a safety pin, anything that will help you keep track of your stitches. You're also going to need some stuffing or fiberfill so we can fill up our project. Finally, we have a yarn, and I will be using all a weight of 4 yarn. This one right here is the Big Twist. I don't remember the name of it. This one is the Dollar Tree acrylic yarn, and then this white one, I don't remember where it's from, but these are all a weight of 4. I will be using this for the straw. It is a little bit thinner, but I find that it works fine for the straw. And then I do want to show you that. So this one right here, this is the AliExpress yarn. It is a little bit thinner than this one right here, which is the Big Twist, this color right here. And you can see that it's not like too much of a difference. You can see this one is kind of just like a little tad bit thicker. So if you want your straw to be a tiny bit skinnier, you can use thinner yarn. But again, I think this one still is a weight of 4. It's just like a little bit different because it is from AliExpress. But oops, sorry for all this dog hair everywhere. But yeah, so that's the yarn that I will be using. You can use whatever you want to just make sure it's all the same weight, unless you want a skinnier straw. To get started, let's take our 3.5mm crochet hook, and then we're going to start off with the straw. So whatever color you're going to be using, which mine is going to be yellow, let's first start off with a magic circle. Now, I know the magic circle is very difficult, so I do have a separate video on it, but I will show you how to do this in this video as well, just not as slow as my other videos. So what you're going to do, what I like to do is just take my yarn, and then I'm going to wrap it around 2 or 3 fingers. I'm going to go with 3 today. And then when I bring it back to the front, I'm going to create this X right here. And then with this yarn, I'm just going to take it back down my fingers and then take my pinky and hold it down. So here I have my X at the front. Now I'm just going to take my crochet hook, insert it inside the circle, and then I'm going to grab that front piece of the yarn, so this one right here, and just pull it through the X. And then I'm just going to pull up. So now you see that I have this little loop on my hook. I'm going to take my crochet hook again and go in that same yarn piece. And if you have to turn around, it's fine. Just make sure you can go under and pull through. Now I'm going to let go so you can see the magic circle. And now I'm just going to tighten it all up. And now we can start crocheting in the circle. Now with this magic circle, I like to pull mine just a little bit. So if you pull on this yarn right here, it'll make the circle a little bit smaller. I do like working in smaller spaces because I feel like I can hold on to all the pieces a little bit better. So let me just pull it a tad bit more. Now what we're going to do is single crochet 6 times into our circle. So to do that, let's take our crochet hook. You have to work around the circle and this yarn piece as well, because this is how you adjust your circle. So let's take our crochet hook, go inside the circle, grab this yarn, pull it through. We have 2 loops on our hook you have to yarn over, so just take your yarn, put it over your hook, and pull through both of the loops. That was a single crochet. So now we need to do that 5 more times. I will demonstrate a single crochet 2 more times. So let's take our crochet hook, go inside the circle, grab that yarn, and pull it through. We have 2 loops on our hook. Let's yarn over and just pull through the 2 loops. So that was my second. Let's go again inside the circle, grab that yarn and pull it through. 2 loops on my hook. Let's yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops, or the 2 loops on the hook. So I did do 2 single crochets off camera into the circle, but I wanted to finish the last one because what I like to do, I just want to show you that I'll take this yarn and pull it, closing up that circle, and then that makes it easier to do my last single crochet. So basically let's just do the same thing we're doing before, taking our crochet hook, going inside the circle, taking this yarn and just pulling it through. We have our 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, and pull through both loops. And that is the end of round 1. You don't slip stitch or anything. That's just the end of round 1. So let's move on to round 2. Okay, so I know this is just my rough draft paper, so it's kind of messy, but I do want to show you that for rounds 2 to 6, we're just single crocheting this entire time. So there's no increases or anything. We just want to create the length of the straw. Now, because there's only a count of 6, I usually don't put a stitch marker in because I just kind of count it and keep track of it myself. But if you want, you can take your stitch marker and place it into this last stitch right here. And then that would be the where you'll stop at the end, and that's how you can keep track of it. But again, it's only 6 stitches, so you don't have to use this. But I do want to show you that if you did use what I usually use, like yarn or thread, this is how you would put it in. So you take your crochet hook and you go into your last stitch, just put your hook through, and then you'll take your thread or yarn and just pull it through that stitch. And that's how you can keep track if you don't have a stitch marker. I personally like doing this, but of course you can choose whatever works better for you. So I'm going to go ahead and take this out because I will keep track of it. But now let's just go ahead and start single crocheting. I will be demonstrating round 2 on camera, but for the rest I will do it off camera because it's just going to be a repeat. But what we're going to do is just single crochet into each one of these stitches. So you can see right here, this is my first stitch. Let's take our crochet hook and push it through that stitch. Then let's grab some of this yarn and pull it through our stitch. Now we have 2 loops. Let's yarn over and pull through both. So that was 1 single crochet. And then let's do the same thing. So let's go into our next stitch, grab that yarn, pull it through, 2 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through both. That was 2. Here is our 3rd. This one is 4. Go into that stitch, grab that yarn, pull it through. This one is 5. And then this one is 6 right here. So that was round 2. Alright, so now I just do that for rounds 3 to 6, and then I'll be right back. Remember, it's just single crocheting to create the length of the straw. I'm actually working on round 4 right now, but I do want to come back because I just want to let you know that yes, it's going to be difficult because this is such a small round we're working in, but if you are having issues, what you can do is stuff this yarn piece back into the top of the straw. I usually wait until the end to do this because, you know, it's going to be a little bit longer later, but if you're just having like a really hard time, you can either cut this down just a tad bit or stuff it in. So what I do is take my scissors. Again, only if you're having a hard time because you can stuff this later, but you can just take your scissors or your crochet hook and just push that into the straw. I don't add any additional stuffing to the straw because I don't think it needs it, but this is all I put back in, that excess piece of yarn. And then you can go ahead and start crocheting around the circle. I also put this thread back in because when I'm explaining stuff on camera, I tend to forget what stitch I was on. So another thing I want to mention is that when you're going around the circle, what I like to do is hold it at the top of the straw, and then where the row I'm currently working on. So I'll hold it like this and just go into the stitch, grab that yarn, and start single crocheting. Just take your time with it because I know it's going to be a struggle since it's so small, but I did just want to come back on to tell you that because I feel like someone might have an issue with it, but yeah. So let me go ahead and finish the rest off camera. Again, this is round 4 for me. Alright, so after finishing round 6, this is what my straw looks like, and you can go ahead and just, shape it however you want. Doesn't matter too much yet because, of course, we're not done yet. But what I like to do now is just take my scissors and cut off some of this yarn because we will be changing colors, and we're now going to work on the lid. For my lid, I will be using this white color, and this is how I'm going to attach my yarn. If you know how to do it another way, you can do that, but this is just how I want to do it for this project. So what I like to do is, so we just cut off this yarn right here, and we have this loop still. So what I'll do is take my white yarn, and I'm going to kind of create a loop. So this loop like this, and I'll just put it inside to the yellow one. And then what I'll do now is, I know it looks kind of confusing, I'll just take this yellow and pull down so I can close up that gap, and now we have our white loop. And what you can do here is just take the yellow or whatever color you're using, and the other color you're using for the lid, you're just going to tie 2 pieces together to create a knot, and that'll make it secure. I'm going to tie 2 knots just to make sure it's extra secured. And then what you can do here is take these 2 pieces and just stuff it back into the straw. So let me go ahead and do that. I'm gonna finish this off camera because I'm slow. Now for my lid, I will be using new rounds, so I'm going to consider this round 1. But before I get started, I do want to mention that you see this thing right here? This yellow piece, this is not a stitch. So this would be 1 right here. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then that's 6. I know, like, it looks like, what am I showing you? But you should still have 6 stitches because we didn't change anything except add this yarn. So it might be easier for you to see when you're, you have it in front of you. But what we're going to do for this is we're going to increase into each one of these stitches so we can end up with 12 in round 1 of the lid. So to do that, what you have to do, we're increasing with single crochet. So just go into your first stitch, take that yarn and pull it through. And that was 1 single crochet. Now you can do that 1 more time into the same stitch because this is an increase. So taking my crochet hook, going into the same stitch, grab that yarn, pull it through. We have our 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, and pull through. So that was an increase into the first stitch. Now let's just repeat that all the way through. So here is my second stitch, going in, grabbing that yarn, pulling it through, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through both. That was 1. Now remember, 1 more single crochet into the same stitch because this is an increase. And now I'm going to finish this off camera, but I will be back to show you this ending right here in case you're confused. So I'll be right back once I get to my last stitch. Alrighty, I currently have 10 stitches around here. Now I'm just moving on to my last stitch to make this my 12th stitch count. So what we're going to do is go into that last stitch, go in. Let's do our first single crochet and then our last single crochet into the same stitch. There's my 2 loops on the hook, yarning over and pulling through both. Now I'm just going to pull this out really quick to show you that you can see right here. Remember when I told you in the beginning that this doesn't count as a stitch? Well, now you can clearly see it because we're working with a different color. But all you have to do is just make sure you have 12 stitches around, because if you started off with a stitch count of 6 and you're increasing into each one of them, you should end up with 12. So that is the end of round 1 for the lid. And also you can go ahead and insert your stitch marker into the last stitch. I'm going to be using a stitch marker for the video because I feel like if I add the yarn or my threading over here, you're going to get kind of confused because there's too much going on. But that's the end of round 1. Now let's move on to round 2. Alrighty, for round 2, let's first single crochet into the first stitch. Remember, go into the right color. I'm going into my white right here, and that's my first stitch. So for that, let's just do 1 single crochet into that stitch. Now into the following stitch you want to increase. So this second stitch right here, I'm going to do my increase. Let's go in with your first single crochet, and then another one into the same stitch because that's an increase. And now you just have to repeat those two processes all the way through until you get 18 stitches in total in this round, and I will demonstrate once more. So going into my next stitch, I'm going to start off with 1 single crochet, and then into the next stitch we're doing an increase. So that was 1, and there is my second. So now let me just repeat that all the way through until I get my 18 stitches in total in round 2. So going into this one here and doing the increase. So now I'm just going to repeat that off camera and then I'll be right back. So for the ending right here, I'm just going to demonstrate it once, but if you're just a little bit confused about the stitch marker stuff, what you have to do is just remove it, and then into this last stitch what you're going to be doing is an increase. So this one right here is going to be my 17th stitch, and this is 18 right here because I just did an increase into the last one. And then you'll just take your stitch marker and place it into that last stitch, and then now you are done with round 2 of the lid. So we're just going to do a couple more increases now. Alrighty, now for round 3 what we're going to do is single crochet into the first 2 stitches. So this one and this one we're doing 1 single crochet. So that was 1. Going into the next stitch for 1 single crochet, and now you're going into the third one with an increase. So this one right here, I'm just going to do 1 single crochet first, and then another one into the same stitch for an increase. Now you have to repeat those 3 steps all the way through until you get 24 stitches in total in round 3, and I will demonstrate once more before I get off camera. So let's go into your next 2 stitches with a single crochet. So here's 1, going into the next stitch for 1 single crochet, and then into the third one with an increase. So here's 1 single crochet, and then an increase into that same stitch. And now I'm just going to repeat that off camera until I get 24 stitches in total in round 3. I'm finished with round 3, and you can see that it's just expanding a bit more, but we have actually 1 more row of increases. So let's go ahead and start with single crocheting into the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. We're just going to do 1 single crochet into each of those. If you can hear a noise in the back, that's my dog. So this is 1, this is the second, and then into the third stitch. And then you're going to follow that by increasing into the next stitch. So an increase, remember, is just 2 single crochets into that stitch. So now you have to, sorry, I was distracted, so let me just explain this again. So what we just did is single crocheted into the 3 stitches, and then after the third one we did an increase. So if you do that all the way around, you're going to end up with 30 stitches in round 4, and I will demonstrate once more. So let's first start off by single crocheting into 1, 2, 3, those 3 stitches. Let's just do 1 single crochet into each of those. So that was 1, 2, and then that's my third stitch, and then into the fourth one you're going to do an increase. So let's go into that one and do 1 single crochet and then another one into the same stitch. Now I'm just going to repeat this off camera until I get my 30 stitches in total in round 5. Alright, so this is what it currently looks like, and that was the last increasing round, but we need to do one more thing with the white round. So what you're going to do is, we want to make this go downwards. So what I'm going to do is a back loop single crochet for this entire round. So you're not going to end up with any different stitch count. You're still going to end up with 30 stitches, but I will show you how to do the back loop. So with the beginning round, you're going to start with your first stitch, and you can see here's my stitch, but you want to go into the back loop only to make this go downward. So this right here, the stitch that's facing you is the front loop. The back one is right here. So to go into that, you have to go through this middle and push out through the back. Grab that yarn and pull it through. You have your 2 loops on the hook. It's still a single crochet, so just yarn over and pull through. So again, I'll show you. Let me try to get up closer. So you can see this is your stitch. This one right here is facing you, so that's going to be your front loop, and this is the back right here. So let's go in through the middle and push out through the back. grab that yarn and pull it through. There's your 2 loops on the hook. Let's yarn over, pull through both. Again, I'll show it 2 more times slowly. So here's your next stitch. Take your hook into the middle of it, push out through the back, grab that yarn, pull it through, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through both. Again, here's my next stitch, going into the middle, push out through the back, grab that yarn, pull it through, 2 loops on my hook, yarning over, pulling through both. And so you can see that it's kind of creating a little ridge right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish the rest off camera and then I'll be right back. Okay guys, so I'm towards the end and I just want to remove my stitch marker now. And then I'll do my single crochet into the back loop only of this last stitch. So just to show you once more, I'm gonna push my hook through the middle, out towards the back, grab that yarn, pull it through, 2 loops on my hook, yarning over, and pulling through both. And that is the last round of our lid color. So let's take our scissors and just cut off this yarn. And now we can move on to the bottom.